Hey, did you want to see how I edit podcasts? So the interviews I do with Skype, and I use an app called Call Recorder for Skype for my interviews. And then I take them and I just dump them into GarageBand and put a front and a back piece on them. Do you want to see what that looks like? Super quick, by the way. Let's see. First, go to this camera. Second, I'll open up my screen. So I use GarageBand, which is a Mac product. And on it, let's see. Do I want to use No, not right now. All right, so I have 4 tracks. One is called Chris. That's obviously where I put my voice. Then there's interview, and then there's snips. Snips goes to like if I'm going to add in some weird stuff that's not normally there. And then I have backing music. So I always I have a song already kind of in place. And so what I do is I come up with who I'm interviewing, and then I do a really, really quick early piece about that interaction, and then I go from there. So let's see, Clay Bear. Okay, so I go up to the Chris track, and I read in an introduction. I think that I can use my audio for both. Let's see how it works out. Clay Bear is one of the smartest guys I know, so he ends up being a guy that I ask questions to all the time when I'm about to launch something new. I thought I'd play some catch-up with my pal Clay Bear. Now, there you go. I did it one shot. I did it so it lines up perfectly. Sounds a little quiet. It looks a little quiet, I should say, on the audio review here. So now I just go back, I check it out, and let's see. Clay Bear is one of the smartest guys I know, so he ends up being a guy that I ask questions to all the time when I'm about to launch something new. I thought I'd play some catch-up with my pal Clay Bear. So then, right where that note is, I always shut this down a little quieter, and then I go and I do a version of the intro to my show. Now, unlike almost every podcast in the world, I do my intro live every single time for no good reason, just a way to kind of cut out even more fluff in the show. You're listening to the Making the Brand podcast. I'm your host, Chris Brogan. This show is called Catch Up, which is a last bunch of episodes of my podcast where I just catch up with people that I know and like, and that I'm sure you're going to know and like. So far, I've talked to a legendary hip-hop artist, a rock star, one of the people who ran General Electric for a while, and so on. But today is Clay Bear. Clay is a personal friend, a wonderful person. He has an incredible project going on now with something like the perfect introduction, the perfect pitch. There's all kinds of good stuff in Clay's mind, and I want us to dig into it and learn everything we can from Clay. So I'm going to shut up. Let's just get right into the interview. All right. So as I did that, I heard myself make a couple little gaps, but I'm going to see what it sounds like. Person. He has an incredible project going on now with. So I'm going to take out the So I just heard the right here. I just have to go and look for the I can actually see it visually on my screen. Dump that out. And now it sounds like this. Incredible project going on now with something like the perfect introduction, the perfect pitch. There's all kinds of good stuff in Clay's. Now right there, I paused because I couldn't remember the word mind for some reason. And so I'm just going to take out the huge 1.5 second gap where it says mind. So I sound smarter again. Stuff in Clay's mind, and I want us to dig into it and learn everything we can from Clay. I'll leave that pause, the other pause, because it's very humanistic. And so then all I do is I go and I find the interview, which is in this folder here. I drag it to the interview bar, and it drops into place. And then I make sure it lines up so that the very first part of the interview is where it needs to be. Hang on. Okay, so now let's see the transition. So I'm going to shut up. Let's just get right into the interview. Listen, he goes beyond being ridiculously handsome. You can't just objectify him like this. Clay Bear is actually smart and helpful and all. There you go. So it sounds good. So I will not edit the whole interview just because why? Although I just realized that the audio, the volume is down and then up. So I'm just going to double check and make sure that the volume stays consistent. I don't know why it got dropped in here like it did. Some kind of weird early edit or something. I don't know. But I'm just going to find the other half of that. Make sure the volume stays consistent. There we go. Make sure the volume stays consistent. And there we go. So I don't know why that's in there like that, that weird edit. So I come to the end of the interview, and I'll make sure that I didn't say weird stuff or leave it running too long or anything like that.
They run, so I always try to do that. But yeah, I'm excited to make it bigger this year for sure.
I feel like I'm a little bit caught up. I feel like I could get in person.
Just go to clayabear.com and
In person.
All right, I'm going to take out that giant just because it was like a really loud one. But again, that's all the editing I did of this whole part. So I always tell people the way I'm putting it in is the way it is.
Go to clayabear.com and there's an 800 number there. I think clayabear.com.
How fancy are you? Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, brother.
All right, that's it. So then the other thing I remember to do is I go grab my music theme and I go way back to the end of the podcast again. There's probably some faster way I could do this, but this is how I do it. And then I put it as about 45 seconds out, and then I stick the music theme back in so that I remember to talk to the end of that, and then etc. So that's all I'm going to show you for now because I don't want this video to be like a million hours long. It's already 6 minutes. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you that process just to show you that it's not super hard to do this kind of stuff. You have your conversation with your guest, you bring it in, you can edit as much as you want. My editing is just cutting out some ums here and there. You can also edit out passages. You can get really creative with your editing, but I do it the way I do it. And you can publish stuff easier and faster and better if you kind of give it that sort of push. So I just wanted to show you just a little tiny bite of what it takes. Right after that, by the way, once I'm done doing this, editing stuff, I go into my web browser and I go to a site called Libsyn, which is Liberated Syndication. And that is where I host my podcast. I log in and then once I get into the site, I then work by connecting it to my new show, Making the Brand Customer Experience with Chris Brogan. I make sure it's on the right one, and then I just add the new show in. So nothing at all tricky about that process. I just wanted you to, I wanted you to see the, I know I can't get to the right screen. I wanted you to see that. So there we go. All right, that's it. If you have any questions, just email me, chris@chrisbrogan.com, and thank you so much for giving me some of your time. I hope that was vaguely interesting.